Welcome to Lesson 4 of MySci Unit 15, Observing Weather Patterns. In Lesson 4, students will answer the question, how do weather and air pressure affect weather? Students will construct anemometers and barometers in order to gather wind and air pressure data. They figure out that changes in air pressure make the air move, creating wind. They also figure out that monitoring air pressure can help us make more accurate weather predictions. In the Engage portion of this lesson, students will observe the motion of the clouds using a video resource. Students may make observations about the direction of cloud movement and the speed of the motion. Wind speed and direction, as well as changes in air pressure, help better explain patterns in weather. In the Explore portion of this lesson, students will read, How Does the Wind Blow? Refer to this read aloud guide found in the teacher pages. This read aloud can be used to help students understand that the air is all around us. We cannot see air, but we can feel the movement of air, which is what we call wind. The wind affects objects on Earth, such as the leaves on a tree. The speed of the wind is related to the effects that occur. Next, students will develop a tool to measure wind direction known as a wind vane, using a 6-inch piece of yarn, a pencil, and a compass. Students will tie the piece of yarn to the end of the pencil. Model how to use the tool by then having students blow on the yarn in the classroom. Then, students can be taken outside. Using the wind vane and compass, students can determine the direction the wind is coming from. For example, in the image on the screen, the yarn is pointing in a southeast direction. This means the wind would be blowing from the northwest. Next, students will develop a tool to measure wind speed known as an anemometer using a protractor, styrofoam ball, 1 foot length of string, and tape. The protractor template is found in the teacher pages and should be printed on cardstock paper. Students should use the anemometer directions in their student journal to guide them in building the tool. Students will use tape to adhere one end of the string to the styrofoam ball and the other end to the small hole at the center of the protractor as shown in the image. Students will take the tools outside to measure the wind. It is important that students hold the tool far away from their body to avoid blocking the wind. They should also hold the protractor so it is aligned with the direction of the wind. Students should recognize that the degree measurements on the protractor correspond to wind speeds. For example, 90 degrees represents a wind speed of 0 miles per hour. 70 degrees represents a wind speed of 20 miles per hour. Finally, you will develop a class barometer. This is a tool for measuring changes in air pressure. They will use index cards, 1 plastic jar, 1 balloon, and 1 plastic coffee stirrer to create this tool. Directions for constructing the barometer are linked in the curriculum. Directions for taking barometric readings are also linked in the curriculum, so please refer to these documents now. You may also view the tutorial for this lesson from the MySci website. Students will stretch the balloon over the top of the jar. They will then tape the coffee stirrer to the top of the balloon so the end sticks out over the edge of the jar. They will place this barometer next to a wall and tape an index card on the wall so the end of the coffee stirrer is pointing at it. Readings can be recorded throughout this unit by marking the location the stirrer is pointing to with the date and time. In the Explain portion of this lesson, students obtain information from text and video resources to help explain what causes wind. Students should recognize that wind is caused by changes in air pressure. Air pressure is the amount of force molecules are exerting on one another, and differences in air pressure are driven by differences in temperature. In the Elaborate portion of this lesson, students will discuss how a barometer might help us predict hazardous weather. Students will observe graphs that depict barometric pressure and wind speeds. They will use this data to try to predict which of the readings occurred on the day of a tornado. In order to answer this question, Students need to know that low pressure is often associated with stormy weather, while high pressure is typically associated with clear skies. When viewing the April 22, 2011 graphs, students may recognize that the barometric pressure dropped between midnight and 8 p.m. When the barometric pressure dropped to its lowest point, the wind speed increased to its highest point. On June 16, 2016, the barometric pressure remained relatively stable without large jumps in wind speed. In the Evaluate portion of this lesson, students will complete a formative assessment. Students will connect weather tools to the property of weather each is used to measure. Additionally, they will explain the connection between air temperature and air pressure. By the end of this lesson, students will have measured wind and air pressure, described how wind and air pressure affect weather, and identified barometers, wind vanes, and anemometers as tools that measure wind speed, direction, and air pressure.